Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this video. We welcome you to our conversation today on real estate. Today, I have three guests for you, and we're going to go ahead and introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aaliyah Riley from Huntsville, Alabama, graduate of Alabama A&M University, actually two-time graduate, undergrad psychology and grad urban and regional planning. Happy to be on this call with Sam and the fellow realtors.
Welcome.
Hey guys, LeVar Harden with the Harden Real Estate Group, brokered by eXp Realty here in the Houston area. I've been in real estate since 2006. I've been I was licensed in Illinois, and then I've been licensed here in Texas since 2016. I focus on new construction as well as working with investors. Thanks for
Thank you,
having me.
LeVar. You're welcome.
My name is Nikita Gray Baker. I am with Century 21 Homestar, the 21 Mike team. I have been a licensed realtor in Cleveland, Ohio for 6 years, but I've been in finance for 20 years. So this was the last piece of the puzzle, becoming a part of real estate. I completely enjoy it. I enjoy the flexibility and the clients that I get to meet, and I enjoy being on this panel with all of you. So thanks for having me, Sammy.
You're welcome. Thank you all for volunteering your time to do this conversation. I thought this conversation was one that is needed and is important, especially I see a lot of my friends and just people I know buying homes at this point in their lives right now. And so I figured I had this conversation to let people have a better inside view of what it takes or the process of buying a home and some things that you should consider when buying a home. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into my first question, which is if you guys could explain the home buying process. I know that's a very broad question and very open. So don't feel like you have to know everything or, you might forget something, but somebody else will fill in and, so we'll just take it from there. We'll start with Aaliyah. Talk about the Huntsville market and what do you talk to or how do you prepare your clients to purchase their first home?
The Huntsville market is pretty fast-paced. We're a fast-growing city. What I usually tell my clients, of course, is just making sure that their credit score is where they would like it to be for the home that they would like, understanding what it is that they want out of the home buying process, and also what the market will require of them. I think Nikita had said something about um, patience and understanding the process of home buying. It may not just be immediate. We think that when we sign for a house that we get it the next day. That's not really it. And really understanding how important the home loan is in home loan processing. So for me, it's usually just having that financial conversation and understanding their expectations in home buying, and then letting them know the importance of networking and the importance of the agent that they're hiring to in their network. So those are two things I wanted to add to how I start off in the home buying process, and then being willing to go out and see whether or not you want that house and what it takes to have that house. If you're willing to negotiate, if you're willing to say, well, I don't really want that, I want this, and just being up with the market and in knowing what you want and if it'll have value in the years to come. That's something to think that I always kind of add to as an agent. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Nikita?
Yes, I would say, of course, you need that pre-approval. Before we can go out looking, we don't want to get your hopes up. You have to have that pre-approval letter. If you don't have a pre-approval, us connecting you with the lender so that you can start that process. Because you may have all the money in the world for a down payment and everything else, but if you don't have a pre-approval for a loan, then all the money that you have for your down payment, you won't need it. So you first, let's see what your credit looks like to see what your buying power is. to see what your score is and then what programs are out there for you. There are some homes where you don't have to have a down payment. There are down payment assistance programs for first time home buyers. So basically, I would say the number one thing that you need before you even look at a window of a house is to see what your buying power is. That's first and foremost. And then we have the conversation about what you're looking to, what your monthly payments are looking to be. I think because I have the background in finance, that I also kind of get into that conversation as well. If you're looking at a payment here in Cleveland, your payments are going to be 1% of the balance of the home. So if with that's with taxes and insurance included. So when you're looking at $100,000 home, you're looking at a payment with taxes and insurance of $1,000. So with the market being a seller's market, you want to look at your criteria and what you have to have, what is a have to have, and what is I would like to have. Everything you would like to have is not going to be in on your list for a first time home buyer. Everything, a finished basement, a remodel kitchen, remodel bathrooms, 3 to 4 bedrooms, all of those things have like a $10,000 price tag. So you kind of want to see what's your must have and what are those I would like to have. And then of course that patience.
Thanks, Nikita. LeVar?
So Nikita pretty much hit the nail on the head in regards to your pre-approval, being pre-qualified. A lot of people understand about credit. However, they forget that there's additional parts to the whole piece when it comes to qualifying for a home. So it's not
Mhm.
exclusively your credit. It's our jobs as real estate agents to educate people that it's your credit, it's the capital that you have to put into reserves for like your down payment, your closing costs. The lender or loan officer will also need to see what your debt looks like as well as your income. So just because you have a perfect credit score does not mean that you qualify for a $500,000 home. So we have to educate people early and often. It's four factors. It's your income, it's your debt, your credit score, as well as the amount of cash that you have for your closing costs and your down payment. From there, she already mentioned this, a big part of our job when it comes to before we're under contract is to help you understand the difference between your wants and your needs. And I have the exact same conversation with my clients, Nikita, regarding, everything that you want that's not a necessity or that's not functional for your home, for you and your family as it is, it'll probably cost you $5,000 to $10,000. Period.
Mhm.
Point blank. Anything that's an amenity to the home will probably cost you an additional $5,000 to $10,000. And the other conversation is I need people to understand your first home is not going to be your dream home. Your first home is a stepping stone to get you to that dream home. Get in that first home, capitalize on the equity and appreciation over a couple years, sell that property, take the capital that that you got from your closing and apply that to a bigger home as your family grows or as your need changes, as you need to change over to a different school district, things of that nature. But you want to utilize your first home as a stepping stone into the next home. Once you nail down that property that you want, you have to make an offer, especially right now in today's climate. If you're not making an offer on the home that you want, somebody is coming in to make an offer that day. The day that you have to think about it, somebody's making an offer. So those are, just upfront early conversations that I have. I also provide my clients with an estimate. So once we understand the amount that they qualify for, my preferred loan officer will also provide them with a closing cost estimate. So they'll give them a worksheet. So a lot of people look at, the sales price, so $300,000 home, but they forget to really think about what is the monthly mortgage amount that you're comfortable paying once your taxes and insurance are included. So I have an insurance guy pretty much on speed dial. I refer him to all of my buyer clients. And as an investor, I use him in 100% of my transactions. So once we figure out that number that you're really comfortable paying, You know, let's make this offer and let's get into a new home in 30 days. That's where I am.
Thank you, LeVar. I appreciate, this conversation. And as Nikita says, before you even think about a window of a house.
For real, like seriously. Seriously.
Oh, that tickled me.
So here's one of the reasons why, Sammy. You have people that make $200,000 a year that spend $199,000 a year, so they can't afford a home. Period.
Mhm.
And people are like, "Oh, I have great credit. I make great money." Okay, fine. Well, apply, because other than that, I don't know how much debt you have, which is a huge
Yeah,
thing.
that was something that you had said. So let's look at your debt to income. Talk to us about that. How does that take a part in the home buying process? For example, in the next 2 years, I would like to buy a home. And some you said, your first home shouldn't be your dream home, but I'm like, I'm 40, so I need this home to be, my nice home. But let's talk about, like, I have a lot of student loan. My student loan debt is high, but so I ain't putting all my business out there. But let's talk about those some real questions. You have people who went to college like me all your life, and then you want to buy a house. So how does that impact your buying power?
Well, I would say, I'm sorry. I know. Did I cut somebody off?
Mm.
I would say your lender will have that conversation with you because, of course, your monthly payments will be on your credit report, and then you'll disclose how much your monthly payments are as well. So they're not looking at so much the total, they're looking at the payments. How much do you pay a month? So
Mm-hmm.
even with your credit cards, you're looking at your debt to income ratio should be no more than 30%. So you're looking at your credit card payments, you're looking at your installment loan payments. And I don't want people to be discouraged by student loans. Student loans are an investment in yourself. So, when you have that student loan debt, that just means that you are more competitive in the professional market you're looking at your next job or things like that. So don't let student loan debt discourage you, because depending on your profession, some of those student loans can be excused. You have For me, I work for an urbanized school district, so there are programs that will completely forgive 80% of my student loan debt. So don't let that be your discourager. We're looking at the debt to income overall. Um, so that's what lenders really look to. Okay, so don't look at if I owe 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. No, what is your payment? Um, so I think LeVar and Aaliyah can probably speak to that as well.
Aaliyah,
Yeah.
what has
So
your
depending
experience
on
been? Hold up for a second. I'm sorry, Aaliyah. What has your experience been with debt issues with some of the clients that you have worked with so far?
Well,
Or it
my
may not be
issue.
an issue, because I know Huntsville is a very unique market as far as the people who are coming in are
Very.
are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I look at Huntsville, Alabama, I see a lot of, how can I say this? You just tell me, what type of clients have you seen coming into Huntsville? I don't want to make no assumptions.
Um, for me, especially coming from the younger side and more of the new agent side, I've experienced mostly people coming out of school, wanting a
Mm.
house and not knowing the home buying process, thinking because they have thinking because they have a good job and that they can afford a house now, not understanding their credit score or understanding the debt to income ratio that they and whether or not they can actually afford a home, or like he said, like LeVar said, you get paid to what 299,000 and spending 298,000 in that year, so you really can't afford it too much or can't afford that much within that span. But what I've come in contact with the home buyers that I've come in contact with is just barely meeting the criteria to get a house and not understanding all that it takes in buying a home. So, for instance, you could have someone, they come in, they're doing credit repair or they're paying off this or that, and they wonder, oh, why isn't it clear for my credit score? Why can't you just accept this? And not understanding because it's such a hot market and they see that if I don't get this house now, it's going to go up 6,000. I can't afford it 6,000. I barely can afford it now. They get discouraged because they haven't prepared prior. So for me, I'm always like, well, really, just because you didn't get accepted by that loan officer and your credit score isn't where it shouldn't be, that just means that you're starting a process and doesn't mean that you give up on it. Just don't think that you're gonna go looking at a window. Like I said, don't go try to buy a window yet. So I've dealt with it on both margins. Being challenged, having the loan and being challenged by other buyers, and then not being able to get the loan and being discouraged if home buying is even for you. So I've been on those ends with the clients that I've dealt with. Not so yeah.
Thank you. LeVar, can you talk to us about, um, as Aaliyah pointed out, preparing for a home? How do you get your clients to prepare? You're a new home buyer. What are some things that you should take into consideration? And how long does it take? I know each person, nothing's cookie cutter,
Yeah,
right?
every
So each
person is
person is
going to be
different.
different in regards to how we create that roadmap. But for the most part, that's a conversation for the loan officer, ultimately, because they're the ones that look at your income. They're the ones that look at your debt. They're the ones that look at your credit score. Um, you know, Honestly, I don't want to know. I just want to know that you are qualified to purchase a home. Um,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, that's what loan officers are there for. My job is
Mhm.
to help you find a home and carry you from the contract to close process, right? So the first conversation that I have with people, especially people that are hesitant about applying, okay, so it sounds like you're hesitant about applying because perhaps you don't have that great of a credit score. Is that what it is? Oh, yeah, well, I can't, if I apply, then I'll lose points. Okay, well, what's your timeline? So if you are looking at purchasing a home in the next 3 months and you don't want to apply, then you're not serious about purchasing a home in the next 3 months. Um, so a lot of people have mental hurdles that they have to overcome. So when I run into that, I have a very, very serious conversation with them. Like, you're going to have resistance in this process. Period, point blank. 98% of people that go through the home ownership process have resistance at some point. So once we understand the whole reason that you're saying, I'm no longer renting, once I understand that, then we can, create a game plan around your mindset. Because what I've determined or what I found out is it's not enough to just say, I have this goal of purchasing a home. So we have to have the vision of purchasing a home, but there usually is another factor behind you even entertaining the thought of purchasing a home. And if the only rhyme or reason that you have is because someone else or your cohorts or your friends or family are telling you that you need to, then I don't know that you're ready. So what I found out is people that have both the vision and then they're dissatisfied with something. They hate their landlord. They understand that they're paying their landlord's mortgage. So why not pay their own? Those are the people that get to the finish line. So once we understand whatever your vision is, whatever you're dissatisfied with, then we can create a point of reference or your first steps to get you over whatever resistance we're going to encounter because it's coming. So that's just kind of how I have the conversation with my clients, and it's a passionate
Thanks.
conversation.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that you're very passionate um, in what you do. Nikita, what is your intake or perspective?
Just, like LeVar said, you have to have the vision, and then you have to be realistic. Don't feel like you have to have the home that your parents had, right?
Hmm.
Because that, first of all, it's a different time. Homes are
Yeah.
a lot different, and everybody has a beginning point, you know?
That's
So
so funny. I'm sorry, I just got to interrupt real
that's
quick.
okay.
That's so funny that you said that because I was like, when I do get a house, like I want 3 bathrooms, I want like 4 rooms, or maybe
Hmm.
5 bonus room. Because I was thinking about like the house I grew up in, and I remember
Hmm.
having a basement, a bathroom, a really nice bathroom in the basement with a shower, stand up shower, and I was like, I definitely gotta have that. But then, realistically, I'm like, it's only me. Like, I really don't need that. And
Hmm.
then I think as somebody who's looking, I look at what other people buy, and I'm like, dang, that's a really nice house. And I'm like, I try to look at people's. I'm being very transparent because I
Hmm.
think people need to hear this conversation. You
Right.
know, you try to. I know what I do. I try to match my money with somebody else's. I'm like, okay, this person is probably making about this amount. We're probably about the same, or I might be making a little bit more. And but there's so many other factors that play a
Right.
part. Location, your financial background, as far as your creditors, your credit score. So,
Man, they may
like
have somebody paying their closing costs and down payment.
Right. They have, family
Mhm.
members gifting them money,
Yeah.
so don't, look at that as your sketch for what you would want for your home. And then think
Mhm.
about it. I remember my grandfather saying that when he initially purchased his home, his mortgage was like $145 a month. Like $145. Like,
Yeah.
like that's not even a quarter of a house right now. My father bought our my father bought our 4-bedroom house with $12,000 cash. Like a 4-bedroom house right now in a very nice neighborhood in Cleveland is like $150,000. So we can't look at what our parents had or whatever, and they built on the house, whatever they have. When we came along, trust me, they have been decorating, they have been adding on for years. So whatever they had when they initially stepped foot in the home, they probably totally changed it. The home we have right now initially was a 3-bedroom home, and the owners before us added an addition, which made it a 4-bedroom home. So people will buy homes, and they will, buy the frame. They're just buying the house, and then they add on, and then they remodel, and they renovate everything. But the one thing that I did want to go back to your question of the home buying process and preparing for it. The one thing you want to look at when you get that pre-approval is your credit when you begin, and then when we close, those the two credits, they have to be twins, like identical twins. Don't go
If
out
not
buying
better.
something, right? Like, don't go out starting to buy your living room set, your bedroom set, a new car to put in the garage that you don't have yet, um before you close. Like, that is the biggest mistake that a lot of first time home buyers make. They start getting all this furniture because we're about to close in a week or 2 weeks or what have you, and it just does not work out like that. They need to be identical twins, or the one at the closing table, the credit score at the closing table needs to be the good looking twin, right? That needs to be the twin that, that twin needs to be the best looking one, because you can't go out, your credit score cannot go down, because that plays a factor in whether you're going to close or not. And you would hate to have all this new furniture sitting in a garage at somebody else's house because you just bought all this stuff for a house that you don't close on.
Mm, that's pretty deep. Um, You killing me with these one-liners. I'll tell you.
I'm just saying,
Ah,
seriously, people don't understand that. They'll think like, okay, I got the pre-approval, and now, it's not like a credit card where you get pre-approved for a credit card and you got a $10,000 credit line and that's it, so you're good to go. No, they run your credit again to make sure that you can now afford this home. And if your points go down, that's going to delay the process. So, you've already put in with your landlord that you're not going to renew your lease. You're about ready to go into this new house, and now you don't have anywhere to go because you just bought all this stuff, put all this stuff on your credit. So now your debt to income ratio has gone up, your utilization has gone up, which is going to make your score go down. I had one client, we just closed on a home a couple weeks ago. I actually had the seller and the buyers um, change something on. Oh, they added something to the addendum, like we gave them an additional credit, which meant that it changed when we were closing, and it changed their payment by $6. $6. So now we didn't get to close on that day, and they had the trucks all ready to go, already loaded, and they had to stay in their house for an additional weekend. So, everything has to mirror and look the same. Nothing can change.
wow, I didn't know it was so many intricate little pieces in
Hmm.
this process. Man, it seems very hard to buy a house. Um, one thing I want to talk about because I know LeVar does a lot of new construction. So, if you're doing new construction, or if you want to build your own house, I guess that's considered new construction too. How does a person navigate building their own home?
So before I moved to Houston, I always thought that new construction was essentially you pick out your lot, you buy that lot, and then you have to go and find a builder. No, it doesn't always work like that. Uh-oh. Sammy.
Oh, I'm here. I had to scratch my nose. Okay.
Oh.
Edit that part.
But yeah, it doesn't always work like that. So we have communities of new construction. So what that looks like is you'll have a developer come in and they'll buy acres upon acres upon acres of land. So let's call it 1,000 acres of land. They'll buy the land and they'll put in the infrastructure. So they'll put in the streets, they'll put in the water coming from the city, all of that. Then they sell the individual lots to builders. So you may have, 20 builders in one community. So for instance, our neighborhood is about 20 builders here. So you have 20 builders in one neighborhood. So as a prospective buyer, you go to the builder and you go to the community, you'll find a builder that you think is reputable, that has a floor plan that's functional for how you envision your family utilizing the home. And if you're building from the ground up, you have the opportunity to pick your lot, you'll pick your floor plan. Once you pick your floor plan, you'll sign the contract. From there, you'll go to the design center to pick all of the fit and finish. So all of the hardware, your lights, the types of doors, all of that, right? And then you have custom building. Custom building is a whole different ball game. That's where you buy your own land and you source these different custom builders, and you'll have a custom builder come in and build whatever you want on that specific parcel of land. As
So let me
opposed
interrupt you real quick. So there's a video going around of this guy who goes into this community of new homes, and he's showing that these new homes that they're building are trying to think of a nice word, but are not the homes that were built years and years ago. You know, he's saying they're using cheaper materials and they look really nice on the outside, but on the ends, like the actual structure is not um, quality material, right? So,
Do you find that hard to believe? Because you can find that. I mean, that instance is in everything that we buy nowadays.
right. So, as a person who want to buy a home, if you want to go back to really good material, right?
That home won't even be efficient. So what happens at that point is, let's say my electricity bill in a new home is $125. Yours might be $400 a month in Houston heat.
Mm-hmm.
So which way you gonna want it? You want to pay more for a newer home with less headache when it comes to maintenance and a 10-year structural warranty and a 2-year warranty on material and labor, or do you want to foot the bill for when your 1988 built home, has issues with your AC, issues with your water heater? Can't get it both ways. So, what happens is one of the main things is material costs a lot more nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because material costs more, builders have found ways to kind of cut around, quality. So, what happens is there are certain rules and regulations that they must adhere to that are enforced by your state, your county, whatever. So as long as they adhere to, to code, I mean, you're fine. And then it's
Okay.
backed by a warranty with new construction.
Thanks,
Thinking,
Aaliyah.
oh, yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'm thinking I've been sitting at a couple of properties for different builders. And I think about, of course, I like what you said, LeVar, warranties. And my broker, and I didn't mention, I'm part of Shauna Davis Real Estate in Huntsville, but my broker, she stresses having an inspection, even if it's brand new.
Yeah,
There's a
absolutely.
possibility that something is still wrong with it. Go ahead and get an inspection. So inspection. Now understand the location of the property in proximity to the school system that you want to be a part of, in proximity to the local government that you want to be a part of, grocery stores, hospitals, doctor's offices. Thinking about that, but I'm coming down to the point of assessing the value of the home and what it will be like when you resell it. And I guess I'm gonna say a little more too. Growing up, or even before I got into real estate a couple of years ago, I always thought, well, you buy a house and that's the house you stick with. That's a stereotype. You can change houses just like you change any other asset. That had to be changed. So I want to debunk that. But seeing that if I'm comparing builders and I want new construction, I like the benefits that come with new construction. I have to see, okay, room size, what will appraise. So there's things called tray ceilings, or let's put it in layman terms. If I'm on HGTV and they're talking about this ceiling and they're talking about these walls, or everything has crown molding, pay attention to those words and pay attention to the amenities of what will electric efficient or something like that, because those things help resale value. Number of rooms. If they tell you, oh, you can change this to a bonus room, when you resell it, it takes away a whole room. Think about it. So having an agent that begins to tell you this is what the value of your home is going to be like in 5 years, because a lot of these properties that come up, and what I've been told is it's good for right now, but in 5 or 10 years, if they don't sell it while the market is still hot, they're losing money. Just like a car, when it comes off the lot, it depreciates. So I think about that part of a new build and the pros and the cons of it, and what you really want out of it, and what you expect of whether or not you're going to change from this house to another house in a couple of years. Is this going to actually make me money or take money completely from me?
Thanks. Quick question. What is a comparative market analysis? And I'm not sure if you guys have already discussed this somewhat, but what is that?
So a comparative market analysis is an assessment in which a real estate agent will take a look at the properties that are similar to the subject property. So the subject property
Mm-hmm.
could be the property that you want to purchase, right? So let's say you want to purchase 123 Main Street. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's 1,400 square feet. It's a 1-story home. So before I have my clients make an offer, we'll look at a comparative market analysis of the other homes in the area, similar in size, similar in square footage, similar in age,
Mm-hmm.
that have sold. And we'll make our determination on pricing based on the comparative market analysis, not the asking price.
Mm-hmm. So as a home owner, say that I have this home that you just described. It's 1,400 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath, and I want to sell my home for 250,000. But the homes that are compared to mine are selling for 190,000.
So
Right.
this happens all the time, right? So it's two things that we need to look at. It's not just for selling, it's not just your comparative market analysis. We also need to do a competitive market analysis. So how much are the homes that are on the market that you'll be directly competing against? How much are those homes selling for? If the homes that are active right now on the market, in which the same buyers will be looking at your home and these other homes in the competitive market analysis, where does yours fall? Is it the 5th home by price? Is it the 1st home by price? Is it the 10th home by price? Is it the only home on the market in your neighborhood? For my sellers that are unrealistic when it comes to price, okay, this is how I put it. If I were to buy a share of Microsoft stock today, and it was $25 today, if it's $26 tomorrow and I want to sell it, how much can I sell it for?
That's a
Somebody,
hard math question. I don't know.
okay. So if I buy something at $25 and the price, the market says it's $26 when I want to go to sell it, I can't sell it for 50. I can only
30?
sell it for $26
Oh.
because that's the price per share. There's no difference
Right.
when it comes to real estate.
Mhm.
So if you buy something today and it's valued at, or you purchase it for $200,000, if it's worth $300,000 tomorrow, you can sell it for $300,000. If it's worth $150,000, you might as well just hold on to it because you're not going to get your money back.
Right. I totally agree. And a lot of times sellers want to list their houses based on memories, so they want to sell this house at 300,000, even though you can show them the comps and say, well, there are no other homes in this area that's your same square footage, the amount of rooms that you have, there aren't any recent updates or anything like that that's selling for $300,000. But to them, in their mind, this room is where we had all of our Christmases. This room is where all of the Thanksgiving dinners took place. This is where Johnny fell and scraped his knee, so we repaved that. Like, they are really looking at selling it based on memories. And,
Mhm.
you have to have that conversation where the memories are in your heart and on your pictures that you're going to take with you to your new home that I'm going to help you buy, as well as sell this home that you want to put on the market. So don't think that your memories are as valuable to someone else as they are to you. We're being realistic. This is a business transaction, and you have to have that gentle conversation with them. So you can't be crass when you have it. It is, these are your memories. This goes with your family. But we're really trying to close this out for you so you can close this chapter and start a new one. And that's one of the biggest things about real estate. When I first got into this market, I thought because I was a lender for so long, like I know how to close, like that's not, a big deal. But what my team manager had to let me know is it's not about closing on a deal, it's about building relationships, and your clients have to trust you that you have their best interest at heart. So when you're having that conversation about the memories that are in their home, what we're listing the house for, you have to give them facts, but then you also have to let them know that you care about their well-being and what this is going to, how this is going to affect their family.
So, if I am, say I have a house, right? I got my starter home. I'm looking to get a bigger house. I don't want to sell my starter home, but I want to lease it, but I still want to move into another home. How realistic is that? And how will that impact my buying power?
So it's very realistic. It happens every day, right? So
Mhm.
the lender will look at, okay, a percentage of what you can rent that home for, your current home. So let's say it's you can rent it for $2,000 a month, right? They may take 75% of that and take that out of your debt because
Oh, wow.
yeah, so because they know that that's covered, the mortgage is
Mhm.
covered. And then they'll look at what you qualify for now as if this other home has already been rented out.
Okay, that was easy. Um, I know we touched on this a little bit, but can you guys tell me about earnest money? What does that mean?
Good faith,
Anybody can go.
good faith. It is just basically it's just like the down payment, but it's just I'm serious about I'm serious about my interest in this house. So they really just
Mhm.
call it good faith money, and it's put into a trust account. So
And
in my name.
how much do I need in earnest money?
So it's different in every market. So I think we all need to answer that for our specific market. So Aaliyah, what is it for your market?
It varies per loan type and yeah, per loan type and list and seller. So it can be 100, it can be 1,000. It can vary. So I haven't had this is the set. No. So it varies here. That's why I was like, y'all can add to it because it varies.
Got you.
I would say for the Cleveland market, no less than 500, no more than 1,000. Yeah. So if you're looking at if you're really serious about buying this home, you're gonna put your earnest money is gonna be $500 to $1,000.
Y'all, it is 1% in Houston, period, point blank.
Oh my God, that
One-
could be like $10,000.
Yeah, it's 1%. It's 1% in Houston. In addition to our earnest money, we also have to give them, let's call it $200-300. And this is called our option period funds.
Mhm.
So most people call it your due diligence period or your inspection period. So it's negotiable, but it's
Mhm.
typically a couple $100. And the way it works is if I'm if we agree on a price, right? My buyer and the seller agree on a price. We'll present the offer and we'll have the earnest money, which is 1%, but that gets credited back to the buyer at closing if we go all the way through to the closing table. Um, and you give them option funding or option period funding, which does not get credited back, or it can. So it's again, that's something that's negotiable, but you don't even get inspection period, none of that without your option period money. What happens is it's essentially exchanging money from buyer to seller and saying, I have 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, 12 days, whatever, to have all the inspections that I want in this home. And you can also renegotiate the sales price if the inspection report has a lot of deficient items on it. So here it's not just your earnest money that goes to the title company, but you also have to provide option period funding, which will go directly to the seller.
What are some of the reasons a person can lose their earnest money?
So somebody on Nikita already mentioned it when she said um, that it was like a $6 variance on the settlement statement, so they couldn't close. So let's say it was a $600 difference or just something like that, right? Or $60 difference. That would make a large difference on a per month basis. So if we are about to get to the closing table and the buyer's credit worthiness has changed, good luck getting their earnest money back. And remember, here it's 1%. So if it's a $300,000 home, that's
That's three
$3,000.
thousand dollars.
Yeah,
That's a
it
lot of money.
right. Or say, for instance, I had an investment property where the investor, she just did not want to continue to go through the process because she was dealing with a lot of personal, issues or whatever. And she said she did not want to proceed with the purchase of the home. Well, not to be insensitive, but that's kind of a you thing. And I took it off the market, where other investors could have looked at this property. So now this property is contingent, where I could have had more traffic coming through, someone else to look at the home. So now, because I took it off the market for you and you don't want to decide to proceed with the sale, that earnest money now comes to my seller because they've taken their home off the market. And for your personal reasons, not to be insensitive, but that 500, that $1,000, that now goes to the seller. That was because it was an inconvenience for them. And now we have to remarket it, re-put it back on the market. And now what happens is the new buyers are suspect, like, why is this back on the market? Did something fall through with the inspection? Like, so they get a little bit leery because we've put it back on the market. So because we've had to now come back to the drawing board, that money that now goes to my seller.
Mm. So let's move on to HOAs, and just different fees that are associated with buying a home that people may not even think about. Um, you know, I was talking to my sister. Oh, and taxes. That was another thing. Just recently, my sister, we went to look at a house for her, and the home to buy the home, my sister would have to pay an extra like $8,000 for taxes that were owed on the house. Um, and so I was like, how do you have to pay for somebody else's taxes? That I just didn't understand that. So let's talk about HOAs and then some of those, I'm going to call them the hidden fees that you just don't know about until you're actually serious about buying a home and they say, okay, well, this house has taxes already on it that the owner didn't pay.
So
Well, that
that's
was, go ahead, LeVar.
so that's another thing that's different from state to state regarding tax prorations. Um, so I mean, I've never heard that where a buyer is responsible for paying the seller's taxes unless maybe that's something that they negotiated. Like as an investor, if you want a seller to take your offer and to really sweeten the offer, you might pay their closing costs. But other than that, the buyer is typically going to have some type of a proration, and the seller will have some type of a proration based on when they close for tax.
Mhm.
Right, that has to be negotiated because no one can make you assume the seller's taxes. So that has to be written into the offer, because you do get a settlement statement and it tells you, because the title company is supposed to look at all of the taxes, back taxes, or anything that the seller owes that may prevent them from selling the home, and then they present it to you. And at that point, you can decide whether you want to assume those fees or the taxes, or you need the seller to clear those up before you proceed with the purchase of the home. 9 times out of 10, unless you're getting a super sweet deal on that house, no buyer is going to accept the taxes on a seller's property. Like, you have to be buying into some serious equity in order to assume the seller's taxes.
Mhm. Okay, so let's move on to HOAs. I know they differ between community. Some are extremely inexpensive, and some are very expensive, like a car payment expensive. Um, so, what are some things buyers should be on the lookout as far as when looking at HOAs?
I would say with the HOAs that I've seen is what they cover, how much it costs, whether or not you're willing to afford that, and then the rules and regulations of the HOA. Some come with pools, and everybody's mailboxes are now together. Neighborhood watch, or don't build this like this, don't add this kind of fence. So seeing if that's something that you want to buy into, the community and the house. That's one thing that I've learned about the HOA process. And even I know we're not talking about condos, we're just talking about homes, but even with condos, and they have HOAs. So outer maintenance, what they allow you to do, and what they allow you to do and what they don't allow you to do in the HOA, what they cover and what they don't cover, what you pay them and what you don't pay them, what goes through them. So that's part of the management aspect of the HOA.
Mm-hmm.
So before I moved here to Houston, my only experience with HOAs was condos. I had no idea that single family communities have HOA assessments, but they do. So here, with the condo market, you'll see HOAs for like $300, $400, $500, $600 a month. In Chicago, I saw like $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month for HOA assessment for condos. But then for single family, it just depends on how many amenities your community has. So, it might be $100 a month. But all of that is factored into the amount of home that you can qualify for. So it's not just your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The lender will also look to see how much the HOA is for the neighborhood that you're looking at. Now, it won't be put into escrow, but they are concerned and they want to make sure that you can afford that extra couple hundred, dollars a month.
What does escrow mean?
So it could be different in different places, but here, Texas is a title state, which means we have title companies act as the third party between the buyer and the seller. Some states, they have attorneys act as the third party between the buyer and seller. So the title company is who distributes the funds that the lender sends on behalf of the borrower. When they get those funds at closing, they'll distribute them to the seller and then to the real estate agents. Okay. So escrow is essentially just vernacular that we use for the title company or for capital to be put aside and held by a third party.
Okay, so this is going to be my second to the last question. How much money should a prospective home buyer have saved, and how long should that money be sitting in their account before they purchase a home? Nikita.
So again, it just depends on, each program, because like I said, there are home buyer programs out here. So I would say the standard amount would be about 20%. And then that money should be sitting in your account for about 6 months. So
did you say 20%?
Yes,
Ooh.
20%. So again, there are home buyer programs. So I mean, but you got to think in Cleveland, you're
What's your
home
average price point?
about 100,000, 150,000.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
yeah, so no, we don't. If the
And that's a nice house. That's a really nice house.
That's a really nice house.
Mm.
So
That's
if you're
probably
out
like
in
300,000 in Houston.
yeah. So like if you're in Solon, which is the best school district in Northeast Ohio, then you're looking at $300,000 houses, which would probably be about a $500,000 house in Houston. So that's why I say about 20%. But that's the highest that you're going to look at. So even with that, you want to have that money in your account for about 6 months. So if you have the money in your account any less than that, then you have to provide a statement as to how the funds were received.
So here we have, well, everyone across the board has 3.5% down via the FHA. But we do have some conventional lenders where you can put zero down. And it's going to be contingent on your credit worthiness. Do you have acceptable debt to income ratio? Are you at a 680 or better credit score? Now, nothing is free. So they use this zero down 100% financing for people that just may have the capital but don't want to use it. So what it looks like is whatever the prime interest rate is. So you have all these people saying, "Oh, I'm below 3% interest rate." Well, if you want to utilize a 100% financing program, you'll probably be paying something close to 4% because it's not free money. You're just paying a premium via your interest rate. Then you have your investors that will do 20% down on a 2-unit, 3-unit, or 4-unit, or a single family home that's outside of their owner occupied property. But yeah, I mean, 3% to 5% is pretty normal here for a conventional loan. And then as far as it's called seasoning, actually having the money set in an account, um, they probably won't look beyond 60 to 90 days. And if it's a gift, then they just need to source where the money came from. So if the funds are a gift, they need to see it hit your account as well as the account that it came from for those 60, 90-day window.
Okay, thanks. That was actually my last question. I want to thank my guests for showing up today and participating with this conversation. Do you guys have anything you want to close out with to tell the viewers?
I would say always have a realtor. Do not go into this home buying process thinking that you and the seller can negotiate between the two of you. You need a third party. Because feelings do get involved, because the seller is attached to their home and you're attached to your dream. So I would say never go into this without having a realtor, and don't feel like it's an overwhelming process. I know, Sammy, you mentioned before, wow, this seems so overwhelming purchasing a home,
Yes.
but that's what your that's what your realtor is for. So your realtor, we take the headaches on. We have the sleepless nights. We're the ones making the phone calls for you. So, and we're the ones tailoring the conversation around what we have to tell you, whether it's good news, bad news, or indifferent. So, that's why I say to have a realtor, because they're knowledgeable in the market, and they know what they've seen, and they take the anxiety out of the home buying process.